Hello, everybody. This is Jared from Existing Conditions, and you are listening to the Existing Conditions podcast. More people than ever are interacting with digital versions of the built environment and doing a lot of amazing things in the process. And on this show, we get together to discuss the ideas, the opportunities, and the strategies that they're taking advantage of.
And just looking back over the past 10 years that you've been a part of the company, what are two things that strike you as the biggest changes or the biggest evolutions that have happened in that time?
I mean, the first one is really the embracing of the 3D laser scanning technology. That was a big game changer for the company, going from traditional measurements, just because of the speed and the accuracy that you're able to capture with these 3D laser scanners is fantastic. And it's just a great way to actually back check the work as well. You know, at any point, you can take the Revit model and compare it against that scan data in order to be able to have confidence in what we're delivering. You know, before the quality checking, you know, was really looking at photographs and then comparing that to the model or the drawings just to make sure it looked right. Whereas now you can actually overlay that scan data onto the model and verifying the accuracy. So that really just went a long way to the way that we operated and really the quality of the models and our deliverables. The second one is really kind of moving to this team-based structure that we have now in place, where instead of, you know, one person doing the 3D laser scanning, going back in the office, processing that data, and then doing the modeling, and somebody else or themselves maybe doing the quality control on their own model. Now we're really kind of a team-based structure where you have a field operations crew, a separate team that does the processing, a separate team that does the modeling, and then a third team that does the quality check. So it's really great because you have so many more people touching these models and overseeing the work, where, you know, if one person's constantly looking at the same model or the same data, you know, they might miss something. Whereas when you have multiple eyes kind of seeing that same data, you might see like, oh, that's not a column bump out in the corner. That's a filing cabinet. We shouldn't be modeling that, you know, that kind of information. So it's a much better kind of structure. And again, our quality has just been able to increase because of that, and our speed. When you're focused on one thing, when we have crews that all they do is scan buildings, you know, they become experts in scanning the buildings. My answer before about what sets us apart from other companies, where we're able to focus on just this one aspect. Now our teams are also able to focus on just one aspect and really excel in that area. The people that quality control these models, I'd put them against anybody else doing the same kind of work, you know, because they've just been doing this day in and day out and making sure that all of our models are up to the highest standards.
As somebody who's seen the technology evolve over the past 10 years, what are some of the trends that you've noticed? You
know, I'm still impressed every time I go out and scan a building and see the level of detail that you're able to capture with that scan data. It's really impressive on just what you're able to see within that scan data. It's going to be, you know, fantastic to see that evolution, and we're really going to be there to be able to support our clients and get them that kind of information, and so that they really have, you know, the greatest information right there at their fingertips.
So when you think ahead 10, 15 years down the road, what do you think Existing Conditions is going to look like?
I think the mobile mapping is going to just get better to the point where I could see interior drones where you're just going to go through, open up all the doors and then have a drone fly through the actual interior of a building in order to map the space and capture all that information. And then really just the speed that you're able to process this data. I could see it being, you know, the same day. We're able to go out on site, capture that information, and then the client's going to be able to see it on their screen later that afternoon. It's just going to be a fantastic way of making sure that you always have the latest information about your building and your project. Above ceiling is kind of the holy grail of what we do, and getting that information. Right now, it's really labor intensive in order to capture above ceiling MEP work. where you have to pull down all the ceiling tiles that don't have devices in them, scan from either the ground level or, have stationary scan points above ceilings in the plenum to actually capture that information. I can see again where, if you have small drones that are able to scan these spaces, remove a single ceiling tile, having that drone go up into that plenum space and being able to map that entire system. I think that would be a fantastic way of being able to get that information. Everybody wants it, and we're happy to provide it, but it's just that labor and just the intrusiveness too. You're going into these occupied buildings and trying to pull down all these ceiling tiles, and people are working in there, or, hospitals are a great one. They have dust issues where they can't be pulling down these ceiling tiles and contaminating the spaces. So having that kind of ability would be fantastic, where you're able to capture that information and have it accurate and easily accessible.
Why would that be valuable for a client to have that type of information?
So those MEP systems are constantly needing work, upgrades, renovations. So having that information really empowers their engineers instead of solving those kind of difficulties in the field. You avoid those kind of costly change orders once you get that information. The big thing with designing and construction is, all the design work usually happens while the building's still occupied, the building's still functional. And then you get to the point where you're actually able to demo the building to expose those kind of elements. By then it's too late. Design's already set. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of change orders and everything that need to happen in order to accommodate, unknowns that were happened. So the earlier that you can find those unknowns, the better. When you can get that information ahead of time, then the design team, the engineers, the architects are able to work with confidence and not have to do a lot of rework.
Thanks for listening to this Existing Conditions podcast. You need accurate existing condition surveys of your building. So trust the experts here at Existing Conditions. Let us be your eyes in the field so that you can devote your time to what you do best.